everyone, it's Paradise, and we just spent a few hours going hands-on with Borderlands 4, and as big looter shooter fans, we wanted to share our first impressions after exploring the Fadefields open world zone. And of course, a big thank you to 2K for inviting us to an event where we got to play. We got to test out 2 of the new Vault Hunter classes, Vex the Siren and Rafa the Exo Soldier, and even dive into some early quests, some open world content, and even a boss fight. So let's go through it and how it all felt. Right out the gate, Borderlands 4 did feel like a Borderlands game. From the distinctive UI, the stylized cel-shaded visuals, and the humor, it is all there. But it's also packed full with new bells and whistles that make it feel like a proper evolution to the series. We're talking about double jumping, gliding, air dashing, the new grapple hook that you can use for traversal, or to grab objects and throw them at enemies, and a bunch of other things. It's everything you remember, but it feels a bit tighter and more fluid with new things to experience. The new planet also makes a big difference, and this was only one zone we got to play, the Fadefields, but it was overall a much more vibrant area than the more grungy wastelands of Pandora. It gave it a bit of a fresh setting, and honestly, it's a welcome change, especially with the new big open world zones and seamless areas that they're going for. The Fadefields was a decent-sized open world zone with a mix of sunny and rainy weather, old rundown settlements, and then higher tech industrial order buildings. The main standout here was the Order's forward base, which is where the main mission we got to play wrapped up with a boss fight against Horus. It was a fun fight overall. It felt very much like a Borderlands boss, and being a Borderlands boss, it did have an annoying invulnerability phase that sort of interrupted the flow of the fight, but thankfully we had an actual good weapon with an alt-fire shotgun mode on it that absolutely shredded him after that invincibility phase ended. So much like it is in Borderlands, if you find a gun that actually works and has good stats and perks on it, it can definitely carry you. Compared to Borderlands 3 though, the exploration felt a lot more grand. There was more landmarks, more space, more things to discover, and distractions along the way as you traveled through the world. It is a bit weird having a more open world feel to it compared to previous Borderlands games where a lot of areas were very linear. That being said, the actual area of the Fadefields that we got to explore was locked off from the other adjacent zones, so we couldn't get a full feel for everything and go out exploring. It was just this one area. Now, we did get to do some main quests and a side quest in this early slice of the game, and a lot of those objectives comprised of going somewhere, killing enemies, or looking for an item to collect. Pretty much the things you're used to from past Borderlands games, so the actual quest objectives didn't feel especially new, except for one near the end, where you would use your grapple hook to turn these sort of solar panels around to bounce a laser beam to an objective area that you needed it to point at. But it is of course all wrapped up in that classic Borderlands humor and the general chaotic energy that you would expect in a Borderlands game. The actual side quest we did also featured Claptrap, which was short but fun, and it was great to see Claptrap is back again. I believe he also plays somewhat of a role in the story, so love him or hate him, Claptrap is probably still going to be around. I'm not complaining though, I generally like Claptrap. But when it comes to the pacing of the game, it felt pretty good. We hit just shy of level 9 after about an hour of messing around doing some missions, exploring. We weren't grinding or anything, we were just trying things out, so the leveling curve felt generous. But one of the biggest changes we noticed while playing in this zone is the change to the vehicle system. You can now summon your ride from anywhere by just pressing right on the D-pad, and this is a huge change and a big quality of life upgrade over the old catch-a-ride system. But man, are we gonna miss the classic voice line that came along with it, but we won't miss having to run back to a catch-a-ride station. Now you can just do it anywhere. The vehicle itself features a boost, a jump, and of course shooting, and various customization. We didn't actually get to dive into the customization of the vehicle, but the devs did confirm to us in an interview that you are able to tweak the visuals and weapons, and there was even more to it that they were keeping under wraps, so there's something more to the vehicle system as well. Speaking of customization, we actually did explore the menus, and as you can see, there is a ton of customization options for your Vault Hunter. There's various heads, there's various styles, and a ton of different colors with different ways to change the different color patterns on your Vault Hunter. So when you progress far enough, you can actually make your character somewhat unique to you, which was pretty cool. One of the standout things that we noticed was a dynamic open world event which for us was called the airship wreck. This is where order ships were invading, and you had to go over to them, kill enemies, and destroy their cargo to increase your score. You could even go up inside of the airships that would come one after another to defeat the enemies inside and break things up inside. It was a very fun and chaotic open world event, and it was pretty cool to experience it. The more score you got, the better loot you got at the end, so it does give you some replayability there when it comes back. We think if the rewards hold up, then these events could be great, especially for co-op play and again that replayability aspect. Out in the open world, there was also collectibles and tougher roaming enemies. Think of classic Borderlands badass level enemies. They were tanky, they were tough, and they hit hard. Some of them even had particular things on them like death triggers or random buffs, and it made the map feel a bit more alive. The overall difficulty felt a bit tuned up from the past games as well, which I think a lot of people will be happy about. Now in our gameplay of this area, we did spend most of our time playing as the Vault Hunter Vex the Siren, and she was pretty awesome. She seems to be more of a summoner style Siren this time around, with different active abilities allowing her to do different things. One of which had a Panther style summon, and the active ability of this one was pretty strong, and it was pretty cool to be able to have this Panther companion with you. However, we did ask some of the people there which ones we should try out, and we actually respec'd and tried a different active ability a bit more, including summoning spectral clones. You could have 3 of them at once. You could have a ranged one that would act as a turret, or a melee one with a scythe that would rush down enemies, take aggro, and deal damage. It was super satisfying to summon these things and watch the chaos unfold. We don't know for sure yet, of course, but this was seeming like one of the more powerful abilities to take. Rafa, on the other hand, for this section, we didn't use him as much, but one of the abilities we did try out would actually change you into a third-person perspective with these lightsaber-style blades. You could dash, slash, and go wild on enemies. It looked and felt very fun to play, but we didn't get to try the other ones in this area. Overall, it felt like Vex was fantastic for managing fights and keeping enemies distracted with the various summons, while Rafa seemed more built for aggressive close-ranged attacks and melee hits, at least with that particular playstyle. But don't get it wrong, the skill trees are insane. There is way more perks, way more things, and a lot of build crafting that looks like it could be done, particularly at a higher level. But we will have more on this in an upcoming video. The combat itself did feel very classic, and at level 5, some of our guns were kind of, as expected, very meh. We did, however, have a very good feeling LMG with a shotgun alt-fire mode that was super powerful and just carried us through a lot of stuff. So the weapons still have that signature Borderlands RNG thrill attached to it, where you're going to want to farm things to get those better guns that actually function. The devs also confirmed to us in our interview that random legendary weapons with new licensing parts are of course in the game, and we have seen that before, where you can combine different manufacturer parts to make unique weapons with multiple different benefits. But what interested me is that they also said there will be bespoke and named legendaries that aren't strictly random. So there's going to be a ton of different memorable loot to chase. Well, after a few hours exploring and playing in the Fadefields, I can say that Borderlands 4 is feeling like a solid and confident iteration on the series. It's got that DNA that everyone knows with Borderlands, but with meaningful upgrades in movement, world design, skill trees, and combat variety. I wasn't too sure what to expect when going in, but I've come out feeling very optimistic. It's fun, chaotic, and pretty exciting to play. It feels like what you want Borderlands to be, and I just want to sink my teeth into it at this point, explore the loot and the builds and the skill trees and all that kind of thing. Personally, I'm very excited to see what the endgame will offer, and trust me guys, I asked about this both in our interview and to various others, and I couldn't get any details out of them. Hopefully the endgame is filled with a ton of crazy builds, things to farm, raids, multiplayer content, and legendary weapons that are worth getting, but we'll have to wait and see. But let me know, what do you think of what you've seen so far, and which Vault Hunter are you most excited to play? Here at Arekkz Gaming, we're two friends who love to play games. You have me, Paradise, as well as 26.
Our goal is to keep the videos as concise as possible by cutting out any of the fluff and focusing on what really matters with high quality videos.
So make sure you're subscribed down below for more videos on your favorite games coming very, very soon.